Merry meet all. Okay, so sorry I haven't done as frequent vlogs as I'd like. I've just been trying to get more things done before I record because we're kind of in a time constraint here. So I'm in the Southern Hemisphere in regional Victoria, and we haven't really had the dry weather that you usually have in a year. So we've pretty much had 70% of the year raining. And not as much sunlight. So it's literally spring has been written off, summer's been written off. We're in midsummer now, and we have only just had a few hot days, and not in succession either. Feb the 1st is when we go into our autumn's loo here in the Southern Hemisphere, and guess what? Autumn is a time of the deluge. So the weather has been normal on ground. What hasn't been normal is a very strange and bizarre pumped out rain clouds. That's all I'm going to say on this platform. And it seems so strategic and so coincidental once you see things in the sky, and then all of a sudden, the rain clouds pop up. So I don't want to digress too much, but because we've had limited dry weather, that sort of thing, I've been quite busy getting things done that I would usually get done with the normal seasons, as without the constant deluge. If we're going to continue like this, I think next year when we have the beginning of spring emolk, the plants and all that are stirring, but they're not budding and fruiting at the right times because they haven't had the right amount of light and all that sort of thing, and too much rain and wind and that sort of thing. But I think usually at emolk is when I do all the big spring cleaning, cleaning out mattresses and washing quilts and that sort of thing. But I'm just going to move it to midsummer next year and do all that stuff now. Because there's no point doing all that if you've still got damp and frost and constant rain and not enough sunlight, because you're just going to get mold, aren't you? So that's something there. So the reason why we're looking at my very messy office is I guess wanted to share a prep and a bit of a self-sufficiency tip for those of us who have critters. I do think critters go hand in hand with being self-sustaining, and I'm vegan. I don't eat my critters or anything like that. My animals are my family, literally. I've got wild animals that are part of my family, and I've got domesticated animals directly in my care, and they are at least 50% of my life. I don't have human family like normal people do. And it's just how the cards played out for me. What do you do? There are advantages on, in both camps, having human family and not having human family. The ones who don't have human family usually whinge they don't have them. The ones who do have it usually whinge they wish they didn't. Grass greener sort of thing. But I thought I'd do this little recording here. So please forgive me, I have not finished my office, but I've made some really good headways in... So my office is also my crafting area. I've made some really good headways in organising some things, including, this is where the heater is. The heater costs so much money to run, and it's so annoying. We've got a chimney, but I can't hook up a wood fire, but I can't do that here. However, honestly, I don't think I'm going to be staying here for more than I want to move out as soon as I can. Get out even further. I don't want to be within driving distance of anybody, bar a fellow farmer. But especially away from any principal cities and grids. And I'm using this time between now and then to shore up everything that I want, need, get rid of things I don't, replace things I need to on a restricted budget. that doesn't change, which is way below what the average person has, with zero savings or anything like that. But you work with what you got. So, you know, one of the reasons why I also feel I need to move out of here as quick as I can, I'm in regional Victoria, so I'm not in the CBD. It's at least a 2-hour drive from the Melbourne city centre. But I'm surrounded by feral people, to be frank. I'm surrounded by people that if shit hits the fan, oh my God, they're already feral here now as it is, but things are just going to be... I don't want to put myself in a position to have to defend myself unnecessarily, or to put my animals at risk of being targeted. You know what I mean? People can be so... Well, they are. A lot of people are quite feral these days. You just can't trust them. I mean, people without honour, you can't trust them, especially if shit hits the fan. I mean, you know. So where am I going with this? Yeah, so that also my agent's a real pain in the ass. I've got leaking roof. I've lost 2 mattresses. My bed rot from black mold from the floor because I've got water leaking into the walls because the roof is leaking everywhere. They're thinking about to replace it, and it's like, dude, you do realise it's not an option. I can take him to VCAT and all that sort of thing, but, you know, I feel like a lot of those sort of things are there to waste and drain your energy and time, and you're not always guaranteed, you know, any success in anything. So, you know, I'll probably, as I decide on things more concretely, I'll probably do some vlogs on that. So there's that. Also, I don't even want to go out into my front garden. I live right across the road from a disgusting feral who, half the time he walks outside naked, is so disgusting. Well, nearly all naked. Like, it's just, ugh. And he just makes constant noise, and it's like, oh my God. I don't know. I don't have time to put up with that shit. I've never been someone who has to be surrounded by people, so a prepper sort of lifestyle for me has always been in my lifestyle. It's not something that's a fad for me. You know, I live with a high honour system, integrity. I don't like disloyalty. I don't like dishonesty. I don't like actors. Don't like people that LARP as things, and you know, it's especially stuff from my culture, when people LARP it and claim it as their own, and because mine, it's so much danger of being lost completely mine. So it's like, well, it just, you know, there's that. But I want to just have my focus 100% in producing seeds and you know, looking after the critters and doing what I do within my ancestral culture as well, and let the world do what it does. And I guess I'll do a vlog at some point on my journey to where I am now, which has taken 10 years. I've gone from a little tiny granny flat in the heart of the city to a house outside, well, in a city suburb, to now country Victoria, and I'll be going out even further. So it's been increments. It's been a long journey. It's been constant work. It has been lonely work. I'm not going to surround myself with people and nonsense if their values don't align with mine. I'm not compromising my values, my core or honour for anything or anybody. I don't bow to my own guts. I'm not going to bow down to a man. I don't mean that as in gender as such. I just mean like humankind in general. I'm not bowing down to anyone. It's not within my ethnic makeup to do so. Never has been, which is why I can't tolerate Christ insanity within the European diaspora. It's not our ethnos. It's quite alien to us. We all descend from the Norsemen. So, you know, yeah, it hasn't been easy. And I think the hardest part about it all is uncertainty. But every time I'm like, how the flip? How am I going to do this? What am I going to do? Somehow, some way, it all works out. The next step comes up. I can't see around the bend, but around the bend there is another footstep I can take. So it feels like that. So I just keep going. I'll be honest, I would have loved to have had a partner. Would have loved to have had a dude on the journey, or to meet a dude on the journey, and, you know, it make it much, not easier, but morale boosting, you know. But I'm sorry, but most of the guys down here, they hate white women, period. Or they're Christ-hearted. Like, even if they're not religiously Christian or something like that, they have the same bullshit attitude of women being less than. And then the ones who supposedly don't, they're full-blown commies. I won't tolerate a commie, cultural Marxist and Christ nuts. To me, they're exactly the same bloody thing. I'm not tolerating any of that shit. So I'm in my 50s now, so it's like I'm not holding my breath. So anyway, that was a lot. My God, this is like 11-minute intro, fudge. So critters. Something I'm going to bring up, especially in the way that our electricity and everything's going. Now, I obviously have a few aquariums. Now, whilst I'm in this property, and I'll be doing the same in the future property, I have no idea how, and but it will happen, is to consider lighting. Now, I am not the only aquarium enthusiast in the world. For those who love their tanks, their critters, their fish, and even aquatic plants, I think it's worth considering being able to function without electricity, which means you need light for the plants. So I'm actually moving my aquariums to next to the windows. I've just cleaned the back of this aquarium, which was painted white. I'm going to paint it in a beautiful blue. And then I'm going to let it dry overnight. And I'm actually moving this aquarium here, the 3-footer, the 4-footer, sorry. I'm moving it to this place here because there's perfect amounts of light. I've got this window, that window. So it'll be perfect there. And I'll just move my crafting desk over a little bit, which will be, this is where my computer is. This is where I do my more crafty stuff with yarn and everything. Got enough wool, and all that sort of stuff. So I'll literally be able to swivel my wheelie chair from here to here, as one does. So I guess what I'm saying now is, if you have aquariums, consider placing your aquariums near light. Yeah, you're going to have algae blooms, that sort of thing. But if you keep your general tank maintenance under check, it shouldn't get out of control. Because I've also known people in the past who have got rid of their aquariums thinking that they need to save money on electricity. And they were gutted to realise that they weren't actually, it didn't save them much at all, But that said, I still will I'll still keep my run lights. I need to replace both lights, to be honest with you. They're probably chewing more electricity because they're just old. They need to be replaced. A bit of this one's sort of faulty, a little bit at the switch as well. There's that, but I'm basically only going to turn my lights on when I'm doing recordings of my aquariums and things like that. Otherwise, I'm not putting the lights on. And that will save. And then also, if the electricity goes off, you're not freaking out. Well, I'm not freaking out if electricity's gone. It's like, I'm not using it anyway for the lights. I'm going to be doing something similar in regards to filtration. I'm running a external canister filter on both tanks. I've got a few things I've been playing with. I haven't got time to finish my plans and experiments on them now. It'll probably have to wait till autumn, end of or mid-autumn, getting close to Samhain or winter, which is New Year's Eve for us Gaelic folk. But hopefully by then I'm going to try and figure out some sort of sump sort of filtration, which will be gravity fed and working. At the end of the day, when it comes to water husbandry and filtrations, when it comes to your tank, the most important part of the aquarium is actually bacteria. The bacteria, good bacteria that consumes the ammonia that the especially goldfish produce. Then also to have plants. It's very hard with goldfish, especially mine. They just bulldoze plants. I've got some plants that I've been letting go really wild and big in the Corridora warm tank, and I'm going to be planting them in here. I've got white pebbles. I'm swapping that for white sand. I've got the bag here ready to go. I need to get black sand for the Cory tank. I've got black pebbles, and I don't like how the pebbles are rough on the Corridora barbels, so I'm swapping that over. But I guess the take home of this vlog, which I'm sorry is kind of diverted and ranted a little bit here and there, or diverted on thought, is have a look at your situation with your aquariums, and can you place them in a place where they have more light naturally, so you don't have to run your overhead lights, and you can just use the overhead lights if you're doing a recording or a clean, just so you can also have a good close look at your fish. That's one thing about having good lighting, is you can see everything on your fish before it becomes a problem if there's anything awry. So anyway, I definitely would use the lights, turn the lights on when I'm cleaning the tanks, because then I can also inspect, observe my fish to make sure we're all good. But yeah, so consider that. If you've got aquariums, have a look. Can you place your aquariums in places where there's better natural light throughout the day, and not need to use your overhead lights like I've got switched on now? And then you can just save the overhead lights for, again, when you're cleaning or when you have a recording you want to do or take photos. You can see it's a little bit dark here. Not as bad, but still, over here is better light. So this is where they'll be. So anyway, let's be merry part. I hope everybody's keeping sane, and make the best use of what you've got where you're at now. And if you keep doing that and you keep benchmarking or re-evaluating whether you are or not, it's always going to put you in a better stead the next day or in the future. What else? Oh yeah, so I'll be moving this one as well. This is my warm tank, but I just want to get this beast out the way first, and I'll be moving this bed is my duck bed. I'll be moving the duck bed to this wall here, and yeah, so that's the other thing on critters. If you have waterfowl or just birds, they actually, this is something, this is not why I bring them inside every night, okay? I just love my critters. I love having my ducks near me as I work at my desk. I know, at night, not during the day. They stay outside. I mean, my gosh, if you've never had ducks before, they are like piglets with feathers. Even if there's no mud about, somehow they'll end up creating and being covered in mud. But at night, after they, have a splash in the bathtub for an hour, they go to sleep in this crib in my office. And something I wasn't intentional, but they actually help keep the room warm because of their feathers. And it's amazing. You touch their beak and it's almost hot, and it's like cold sort of thing. They are quite warm, those feathers. I mean, they're walking doonas, aren't they? Covered in those feathers. So actually having your birds inside at night, or your animals, can actually help you keep warm. I'm creating there's no door there. I'm creating a knitted or crocheted divider, or a equivalent of door beads to stop any warm air escaping, limit it, I guess. So when it does get really cold in here, I'll be here with my aquariums and my ducks, and we'll kind of be huddled, and my cat. My chickens and rooster, I don't bring inside. I mean, they're just too much. The ducks can jump out of their crib, and they've done it a couple of times. Well, one here and there. But overall, they don't do it. But if I put my chooks and rooster there, yeah, they'll be... The girls like to fly everywhere. I mean, I didn't, it's one of those things you don't realise how much hens can actually fly. And they do. So that will just be a poop and an absolute mess to have chickens inside the house. Mind you, if you had like a back room, like laundry, that you could create some sort of cage, like you would for a dog, a nice big cage. You could probably bring them out in at night like that. But they do need to be outside during the day, okay, including ducks. You can't have them inside. That's just cruel, and it's going to get stinky, and it's just not going to be hygienic. But anyway, so that's the other part of this, is if you have critters, can you bring them inside at night? That will help keep the place warm. You'll get to enjoy their company, just while you do whatever you're doing at night. They'll be near you. You'll also be able to keep an eye on them, and also that will limit the chances of anyone thinking they're going to jump your fence, take any of your animals, or do harm, or any opportunistic predators who are bloody hungry and they want something to eat. So it limits that as well. So to sum up this vlog, sorry it went all over the place, consider moving your aquariums to areas where there's natural light during the day, more natural light, so you don't have to use the overhead lights. And remember, the overhead lights are more for our benefit, so we can see what's going on. In the wild, koi and goldfish, or carp I should say, they don't have lights in the rivers. They've just got the sunlight there beating on the waterbed. So they don't need a lot of light. It's more for us also to see what's going on, and for plants, if you've got plants in the tank, because obviously we don't have direct sunlight coming in like you do on top of a riverbed for the plant growth. So consider moving your aquariums. If you've lived in your place for at least a few months, you will know and ascertain exactly where there's the best light. If you've got proper hygiene, you don't have to worry about algae blooms. I should say you've got proper tank maintenance, you don't have to worry about that. Algae is not something that's because you're not clean. It's usually because you're not maintaining the parameters of your water and that sort of thing, which can be dependent on what you are keeping in your tanks as well, quite a bit. And then also bring your animals in at night. If you can, work out a way you can do it. And that's a lot of how we used to do it in the Northern Hemisphere. Is in the long cold winters, we would actually bring our livestock inside. In that, please be extra pedantic about being clean and keeping hygiene as a focus. It should go without saying. Practice proper hygiene, clean their sleeping quarters every night at least, or every morning, and just have a good routine. Anyway, blessed be Mary Part. I hope that is giving you guys considerations and thoughts if you have critters, or if you're looking at getting critters and you're trying to save some money on running things such as overhead lights on tanks, and also ways of keeping warm just by bringing your animals in. Blessed be and Mary Part.